Hey everybody, this is Jackie from the Australian Ecommerce. You are tuning into part 1 of our 2-part interview with Nate from Ichpig. In this podcast, he describes Ichpig as an embodiment of his work ethic, the harsh realities of the e-commerce clothing industry, and his opinion on creating a business with family members. Hey everyone, you're listening to a new episode of Australian Incupod. I'm your host Brendan, and today I'm running this episode with Jackie. We have Nate from Ichpig on today. Is that how you pronounce it? Or?
Ichpig.
Ichpig, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a kid from the western suburbs. I'm 29 years old now. I grew up skateboarding and snowboarding, playing a lot of basketball too. And I run a clothing company that's obviously made in Melbourne. And I run it with my brother. And it's been going for about 7 years now. And we started out of my mum's garage. And yeah, it's full time, and I've been living off it for a very long time now, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a pretty unique name. How'd you guys come up with it?
Yeah, we get asked that a lot. So the whole gist of it is it kind of relates to how Alex and I are, and that's we're relentless. We're just, we're hungry. So the tagline's like a relentless progression fueled by one's own hunger. So the ich is one in Japanese. So it's the one part. It's you. It's your. And then the pig's the hunger, the insatiable appetite that never stops. So it's like, with us, we always knew Ichpig was going to be something. We always knew it's going to turn into something because we wouldn't let it not be something because we were just ferocious. And all our friends and all the people around us would say that we are once we kind of get fixated on something, we kind of chase it quite hard. But then obviously that goalpost is always moving on us as well. So it's like, it's kind of you're forever chasing this hunger. It's hard. It's really hard to describe it, but it's really, it's all consuming. And it applies to everything I do. Basketball, skateboarding, whatever. I just go, 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 go. So that's where the name kind of comes from. A lot of people never really realize that. It's not the literal sense of a pig, like you're greedy or whatever. It's the hunger. It's the never stop eating, never stop progressing, like we're just junkies for it. It sounds weird, but it is. That is what it is. We just like, you go from, you're in mum's garage and then, you're making $500 a week or whatever, and you still got 2 jobs, and you quit your job, and then you got a factory in Tottenham, and then you're making stuff. You're making $1,000 a week, and then you're making $1,000 a day, and then, it just, you got employees. You learn about tax. You learn about this. You learn about that, and now it's like people see us as this massive organization. Like I get recognized at skate parks and shit now. Like pretty much every time I go out now, I probably see our product, which is it's fucking nuts. It's crazy. Who would have thought like a company not just started in Melbourne, but we're actually making it here, is thriving, and in an industry that's dying, like it is about to really cark it. It's going to die real soon because no one wants to work as hard as us.
Well, which industry? Like the clothing industry or the e-commerce side?
Probably the retail industry. I don't think like everyone says that e-commerce is this golden thing. It's this golden goose egg. It's this rainbow that if you just get on it and you put some Facebook ads on there and you get a website, you're gonna make money. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. There's so many people and so many things and so many bloody distractions and so much volume of stuff. It is so hard to get your message across. Like, we have thousands of really good customers, and it takes me to hit them up physically on Facebook to get in contact with them sometimes because they don't see our Instagram posts, they don't see our Facebook posts, they don't see our ads on Facebook that we do from time to time. They're absent. They're somewhere else. They're just so busy and thinking about other things and just polluted with all this stuff that is the world. It's really hard to get a message across. And if you are just relying on a physical retail space, well, people aren't even doing that anyway. Like, why would you go to a shopping centre? Do you boys go to shopping centres?
Not anymore, no.
No. When's the last time you went to a shopping centre?
Oh, I don't
I
even
think
know.
I went last night.
Last
To
night?
eat though, just to eat.
Just eat.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. People are spending money. People are spending $100 between two people on eating now. Like, that's the difference. People are spending their money on experiences and other things. They're not going to a store on Saturday morning and blowing their paycheck down Chapel Street. Why would you? Like, it's crap. There's nothing there. All the rent there's too high. It's Target, Topshop, all that crap that you don't give a shit about. Like, who cares about that stuff? So it's like, yeah, it is a really tough world. There is a lot of overgrowth. And I was saying to you boys before the podcast start about, I've been saying this to a few people lately, is like, the forest is quite established, and it's about to really burn down. The overgrowth is really growing and killing some of these big structures, some of these big trees, which are big companies like Topshop folded on Chapel Street. Like, that's
Arlington yesterday.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how big those companies are? American Apparel's done. Like, that's nuts. And that's my point, is these little... Every man and his dog has a clothing company now, you know? Everyone can go to AS Colour, print up some tees and sell them, you know? And everyone thinks that they can have a crack, which is, good on them, sure. At some point, there's just too much congestion, and the trees start dying because, they don't get enough water, they don't get enough sunlight, they don't get all these things, right? And then all it takes is one really, really hot day, like the global financial crisis or hard times or whatever, and the whole forest burns because it's too dry. There's no moisture. All the life's taken, right? And that's what's about to happen. It's 2 years away. Like, whoever survives this next little period, they're going to be in a good spot for the next little bit, because, the forest is most fertile after it burns down, not right now.
So you talk about retail dying. Did you kind of see this before you started Ichpig, and is that why you moved onto e-commerce?
We were always e-commerce based, to be honest. We were selling so much stuff. When we started 7 years ago, Ichpig was really based around... One of the things that kind of got us famous was we'd make custom hoods. So you could come to us and choose your colours, and we'd make it to order. And for a while there, for the first 2 years of the company, we didn't make the same hoodie twice. We refused to, or whatever. And we used Facebook as our marketing tool. Now, back then, 7 years ago, Facebook was fucking wide open. It was like, you could just exploit it. And one of the things that we did very early, and I think it was before Facebook kind of cottoned on to people actually using it as a marketing tool, was that we turned people pages into us making money, the business. We were going out there as a business, but on a personal page, so we could directly interact with people, talk to them, use the messenger service, all those things, right? And we would just sell over there. We'd get people to fill out their order form. We'd get their money through PayPal or bank transfer, and then we'd make it to order, and then we'd send it out to them, or they'd come pick it up from the garage. So we were always online based. We were always... And then, we kind of made this dinky little website that allowed you to pick your colours. And then we were doing that for a while. And then we thought, let's just try and make it a bit more streamlined. So the website got a bit better, and then you could buy, kind of not custom products, but because what we realised was people really liked our stuff, but some people didn't want the stress of picking colours or to spend that amount of money either. So we just made kind of these ready-made garments or whatever, and they started taking off, and then the website got a bit better, and the website's always improved. So we've always been really e-commerce based because it's just so much easier. It just works more efficient. You don't need to pay rent, and the only reason we have stores now is because, we have a store at the factory we work at because we're there. But other than that, we don't really have any stores anymore. We were on Chapel Street, and we had one in Perth as well, but it just wasn't working.
Like a pop-up store?
Yeah. So we had some pop-up stores, but they just, they were good and they were efficient and they were okay, but it's just too much effort. It doesn't work. the amount of money that you need to generate to stay profitable is not sustainable. It's not even not sustainable. It's like, it's not possible. So yeah, we were always kind of e-commerce based, but like, just because e-commerce is easier, like just because, you know, like you don't have to pay rent and all those things or whatever, it's still hard because everyone knows that. Everyone knows that point now. Everyone knows, oh, if you start a clothing company or whatever, or retail or whatever, you have an online business. You have a website that can take people's money, and then, but because everyone knows that point, there's so many of these websites. Like, I mean, how many websites do you guys look at every day?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting you mentioned the collapse of everything.
I know it sounds doomsday,
Yeah.
but like, something's got to give.
So how do you think some companies can weather that storm? Do you think it's just, you just got to tough it out?
You got to be really, 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 it's got to have a rare mix of really, really, really creative, and you got to be really, really hard working. And if you're not, you got no hope. It's that's how I see it, you know, because the way it is at the moment, I think the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Like, you think about how massive Nike is, or Supreme or whatever, you know, like Supreme just sold half the company for $500 million. They valued it at 1.1 billion and gave 50% away to that Carlyle's, that investment trust or investment firm or whatever it was. And it's like, holy shit, like, that's massive. Like, I can't think of another company, like a clothing company, that's gotten that big, other than, you know, Nike, Adidas, Puma and all those ones or whatever. But it's like, in terms of people trying to make it, you just got to make sure like what you're doing is actually different. Like, you got to really ask yourself, you know, do people want this? Does the world need this? Like, okay, you say I'm a hypocrite and I'm just putting out clothes for the sake of putting out clothes. I'm adding to the world's pollution or overcrowding of stuff. But there's probably a solid 100 people in this country that rely on me and my brother every day for jobs, for work. And that feeds taxes, that, you know, that creates all kinds of prosperity, you know, like, and that's kind of what I bank on. Like, at least the bottom line, yeah, I am putting more shit in the world, sure. But, you know, those people that make the stuff, that make the garments, they're not generating negativity. They're not, you know, locked up in some factory that they're forced to do overtime. They're berated. They're yelled at for not working hard enough. They don't get to see their kids. They get paid shit all money. Like I walk into our manufacturers and they fucking love us. They're all of them. There's 20 of them. Like the sewers, their eyes light up because they love us. Like, we're keeping them in business. Like, you know, like 7 years ago, I walked down Smith Street with $1,000 in my jumper pouch, shitting myself, and I bought our first stock line. Now I walk in there and, you know, like they send me tens of thousands of invoices every week, and I just pay them because, you know, we bust our balls and we hustle and we make the money and we can pay them. And you know, the guys that run all the shows and all these kind of places, they love us. And they must be really helpful they must be really thankful they took a gamble on us.
Yep. So just about that gamble, when you started Ichpig, you were quite young, 21 years old or so?
Yeah, so I was 21 and Alex was 19.
Yep. So when you did start, did you find that, can you give us a bit of insight on your, what you experienced starting a clothing company at such a young age? Like, in relation to like your relationship with distributors, did you feel like they took you seriously or whatnot?
That's an interesting question. I don't think they took us seriously, but I think we must have shown something. We had something in us that they saw that thought, these guys might turn into something. Or they might have just been playing a probability game, you know. You give 100 people a go, 10 people are going to turn into something. And I guess we were one of those 10 people that turned into something. But yeah, they I'm not sure they didn't take us seriously, but I don't think they expected much either. They just kind of let it know where it happened or whatever. Just kind of let it see where it goes. But, you know, like funnily enough, like one of our main suppliers, you know, that makes our hoodies and our tees and a lot of our stuff, his accounts woman just used to give him so much shit about us. You're giving those boys too much time. They're a waste of time. Like, you don't get enough money out of them. Like, you can't keep doing this. And, you know, now we're one of their biggest customers. Like, if he got rid of us, like, he wouldn't not necessarily be in trouble, but it would hurt his business probably if he got rid of us. Like, I don't know if we're 20% of his business or maybe 30%, but, you know, we're a decent chunk. And I always give her shit about it, like, because I know about it, right? Because I always say to her, you know, aren't you glad such and such took a chance on us, you know? Aren't you glad that, you know, he gave us a go and listened to us? I bet you're counting your lucky stars now. She always laughs at that. It's pretty funny. But, I mean, it's that whole thing about, I mean, as you kind of go, you learn to conduct yourself more and more professionally, you know, like, you know, you start in a garage, and then you start in a warehouse, and then you have a really nice warehouse with a really nice office, and it has a skate park in it or whatever. But like that takes a long time to kind of get that, you know. Like, first off, you're putting in your order and you're saying, oh, I want this many things. Then you write it down on a piece of paper. Then you write it in a kind of shitty email that has a Word doc, and then suddenly, you know, you have really nice laid out design supplier files. It's the same thing. Everything goes up on this, you know.
So did you have a bit of traction going in before you met with the manufacturer? How did you kind of pitch to them that you could become something?
No, we had no traction, had nothing. We went in and bought in a bunch of their old stock. Like, okay. They had this discontinued stuff that we could get our hands on cheap, and we bought $1,000 worth of it. And then we started chopping it all up and making it into these custom hoods. And then when that stock went out, I can't remember how long it took us to get through that first initial batch, but when we went back and re-upped for another 900, then they started listening. And then the time after that, then we got introduced to Sandy, and, you know, he's basically treated us like sons ever since. Pretty funny story about that. He didn't realise me and Alex were brothers. So one day, I don't know how long into the company it was or whatever, but like, we were still real young, and like, we were talking about staff or whatever, and he's giving this lecture about don't ever do business with family ever. And me and Alex just sitting there just pissing ourselves laughing. It was so funny. Like, it was so funny. We were fucking cacking ourselves, and he had no idea. And then a couple of weeks later, he came back and he said, "You fuckers let me go on that rant." And we're like, yeah. He's like, "I never realised you're brothers." And we're like, yeah, we know.
So what do you think about doing business with family and friends? We get a lot of like really mixed opinions on it.
I don't know. It's a hard one. I'm lucky, you know, like, my brother and I are ferocious, but I don't know. I don't know if what Alex and I have is special or if it's just common. I think it is probably special because some of the blow-ups and some of the fights and some of the decisions and some of the things we do and have interacted are just like, fuck. Like, most people would estrange from each other. But we always seem to come back. But I think what it is like, whether it's friends or family or whatever, the bottom line is you've got to have trust. And you can't question that trust. And as soon as you question that trust, that's it. It's done. You can't come back from it. And there's not once been an instance where I've thought, I wonder if Alex is embezzling money or something like that. Like, I don't think like that. That thought doesn't even come into my mind. And I don't think it would come in his mind either. And that's the bedrock of it all, is because once, and it doesn't necessarily have to be money. It's like, it could be like, I wonder if Alex is working as hard as me. Because as soon as you stop trusting that, well, why the hell are you going to work so hard? You're going to start questioning. You start saying, well, shit, he's not working hard. I'm not going to work hard. And then you get this toxic, chaotic thing. So it doesn't matter if I guess my answer would be, if you trust someone like that, it doesn't matter whether they're friends, family, whatever. As long as you got that trust, it can work. But that trust is a rare thing, because not only do you have to be trustworthy yourself, but you also have to have the inner strength not to question it.
So that was part 1 of our 2-part interview with Nate from Ichpig. Part 2 of this interview will be released within the week. Remember to subscribe, like and follow Australian Incupod on our SoundCloud, iTunes or Facebook accounts to stay updated. And thanks for tuning in.